Hey, yo, what's going on? I'm Josh Martinez, part of iHeartRadio's newest wrestling podcast, the Superstar Crossover, and New York's number one hit music station, Z100, with my guest, L.A. Knight. Yeah, what's going on,
Yeah.
man?
Man, you're looking at it, just hanging out, ready to see what we're going to dig into.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because doing research, you can never be so right. Did you celebrate your 20th year in the industry this year?
Back in March 17th. Yeah,
St. Patrick's Day, huh?
right. Yeah. I was not celebrating March 17th of 2003. I was paying my money and actually, I was celebrating. My first day in the ring was a celebration. That was a lot of fun.
I'm sure it was. What would you say would be the biggest difference between LA Knight's success if it came 15 years ago compared to it coming now, to
Uh,
the scale that it is now? I should say.
I'd be a lot richer. I don't know. I guess maybe people could argue maybe I wouldn't have been ready for it at that point in time, but I don't know if that's true or not. It's all
Mm.
speculation at this point. So for me, the only difference would have been I definitely wouldn't have been saying necessarily or doing the same things because I think I was a different worker and a different talker 15 years ago. Um, Now, 10 years ago, though, I don't know. 10 years ago, I was hitting my stride.
So I have a nephew. His name is Jacob, and he
What's up,
loves
Jacob?
soccer. He loves soccer. He loves baseball. He loves Mookie Betts. But this year for Halloween, he is dressing up like the megastar, LA Knight.
Smart kid right there. I've already heard some people telling me that they've won the costume contest being LA Knight. So, but that's a funny thing. When I was trying to develop kind of like what I was going to wear and look and something that fit me, I'd always thought to myself like I don't want to put too much thought to it. I don't want to be over the top. I don't want to be too flashy or anything. I want to be as true to me as I can be. But at the same time, I want something that stands out. And I think about, if you think about kids dressing up as Hulk Hogan, you immediately know who they are. Kids dressing up as Macho Man, The Rock, Steve Austin, you immediately, Ric Flair, you know when you see him who they are. And I was thinking to myself, if a kid was going to dress up as me for Halloween, what are the things that they would need? And they're going to need that vest. They're going to need those glasses. They're going to need I guess, the beard you could throw in. They're going to need the boots. They're going to need some sort of jeans, whatever. But all of that ensemble together, okay, you got yourself an LA Knight. If it was just I come out there every week and I wear whatever, then who would ever know? So for me, it was like establish an identifiable, almost cartoon characterish, as silly as that might sound, kind of look to where it's like it's mine. And the shirt can be interchangeable, but there's always going to be an LA Knight shirt in there.
Speaking of looks, now I'm born and raised in New York City. I'm a New York City guy. Timberland boots are our thing. You rock the construction style boots every time you come out when it's not a match. Why exactly those Timberland wheat colored boots?
I don't know. I
It's
don't
okay.
know. I legit. I knew I wanted to have boots in with the look. So I'd been wearing sneakers for a bit, and I kind of looked around the landscape, and I said, "Man, everybody's wearing sneakers right now. Everybody's got the Air. They got the Jordans. They got the Air Force Ones. They got the Dunks." I was like, "Let's switch it up a little bit. Let's wear some boots." And I was like, "Let's grab some Timbos and see what we can do with this."
Let me tell you, I could guarantee you that people from New York City immediately we see stuff like that, and we're immediately like, "Oh, he's one of us. We
Yeah,
like this guy."
yeah. The first night I wore them on TV, immediately all on Twitter it was like, "Oh, and in Timbs too." Yeah,
Yeah, it ain't easy moving around in Tim's, let alone doing spots, being taking a bump, giving a bump. It's tough, dude. So the fact that you
brother,
do
I
it, God
still got a
bless you.
good vertical on some Timbs.
um, Speaking of New York City, you guys are going to be in New York City December 1st. You're going to be in the building, Barclays Center, I believe. Do you have any personal memories directly to New York City? When you think of New York City, boom, you think of this one or two things that happened in your life?
Sure. But then I'd ask you to just not ask all these personal questions. Um, no, for me, and maybe this is very elementary because I mean this goes back to me being a kid, but I mean like for me, I always think of the Ghostbusters.
Mm.
So that's always where I am. I'm just like, oh man, okay, well, here's the firehouse and here's this. Immediately, that's always what I go to. But my only well, hell, I was in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in 1997. So go ahead and smoke on that for a minute. So that
Wait,
was
time out. Doing what? Doing what? You got to
I was
be.
I was banging a bass drum walking down 34th Street. So I that was my very first experience in New York ever. Was coming there to do the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I was what 14, maybe just turned 15 years old at the time. So that was pretty wild. And then I spent about 2 weeks there in 2012. And I felt like that was a really pivotal time in my life because it was a time where like I was broke as hell, but I was finding ways to just kind of like start taking more control of my life. Like I'd felt like for a long time I was just kind of letting life wash over me, and I was just kind of going wherever it took me, even though I'd already taken the step to like I want to get into the wrestling business. I want to do this. I'm going to move to California. I'm going to move to Ohio or wherever I needed to or wanted to move. But it was like I was also just kind of there. And I feel like around late 2011, 2012, there was just a mindset shift that happened to me that I can't quite describe. I know it happened. I know the steps and the things that I did. And I think it really made some major changes for me. And one of the biggest things for me was just like telling my job at the time, like, hey guys, I'm going to need like 3 weeks away. So I'm like going to go and do this and just make myself happy for a little bit because I was just working, grinding myself in these awful little side jobs and whatnot, and then also going and wrestling on the weekend, plus staying in the gym, and everything was so there was never like a down moment. And I had found a way to make it work to where I'm just like, all right, I'm going to go spend some time in New York, see some friends, do whatever, and just walk in the streets. Something about walking the streets of New York with music in your ears. That's just, I don't know. It gives you such a vibe, such a feeling while you're just walking the streets and good music's playing.
Main character energy. Now, listen, I would be remiss not to bring up music, right? I am part of a music station, a pop station to be exact, the biggest in the world. Slight flex. What music does LA Knight listen to?
I listen to damn near everything. Not a lot of country, very little EDM, if any. Probably more than anything, it's like hip hop and R&B.
Mm.
But man, I got like everything going in there. Like if you came into my house at any given moment, you would be very confused as to what I'm in because or what I'm into because one day I'm gonna play maybe Michael Jackson, and the next day I might be playing like music straight out of the 40s. Or I might be playing like Garth Brooks or something, or uh, I might have Van Halen on. Like things just go in all these different areas because it's like I like all the different sounds if it hits me just right. It might be a lyrical thing, it might be a musical thing, it might be all of the above, it might be something completely unrelated. Maybe there's like a moment in time that happened and that song was on, and so it just hits me in a certain way. You never know.
I'm always fascinated because for me, we all get in a mood, right? So one day I'm in like a Linkin Park Hybrid Theory mood. The next day I'm in like a Bad Bunny mood or whatever. But there's always one album that I will default to whenever I don't know what I want because I know this album is going to automatically put me in a good mood, and that's Life After Death by Biggie. Do you have an album like that?
Um, I've got a few probably. I can listen front. There's very few albums that I can listen to front to back and not want to
Mm-hmm.
skip a track. And one of the only ones I can think of that I can actually truly listen to front to back without skipping is Ice Cube's War and Peace Volume One.
Hmm.
Um, every one on that is a banger. But I mean, then I think about Chronic 2001, of course, the
Mm.
original Chronic also. But there are a couple skippers for me on those. Um, but if you're talking just straight up front to back, won't skip a thing, it's got to be War and Peace Volume One.
I like it. I dig it. A lot of fan questions, by the way. First and foremost, are you aware of this Yeah Revolution Twitter account that is out there with over
Yeah, and
25,000
they
followers?
even it's funny because they even changed their name because of a interview I did maybe a month ago because I think it was the Yeah Movement. And I was just saying, like, I just don't like it because it sounds like Yes Movement, which is somebody else has already done that. And I'm like, well, Like I look at it as more of like a revolution. And they're like, "We hear you." Like, all right, well, I wasn't asking you to change up your whole damn thing, but good on them. But yeah, no, they've been around since, I mean, at least since the time I think I just started coming back on the SmackDown as LA Knight. So about a year or so. So yeah, very very aware.
By the way, shout out
Oh,
to
look, you know
the
what's funny? Somebody thought that I was running that account. Somebody the other day even said something to me about I guess some post that they put up, and I was just looking at them befuddled, like I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, "Oh yeah," and I'm like, "No," and they showed it to me. And I'm like, "That's not me. That's somebody. That's a fan account. Like somebody else is running that."
it's shout out to the dude Tim Hooks. He's out of Missouri for anyone who's curious, by the way. But he did have questions. What are you doing differently to make yourself such a fan favorite now compared to when you were a heel, even a couple years ago in NXT?
Nothing. Um, I'm doing nothing different. Uh,
I
literally
like it.
just being the same trash talking, want to fight kind of like no nonsense, no BS guy. I think I've always been. Well, I say no nonsense, but and people are going to point out, well, you do say kind of like, little bits of funny things and stuff like that. Sure, I do, but I always get back to the point. I don't dwell in the comedy. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of guys have gotten lost in that in this business over the last 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 years, where it's all become kind of silly fun and games. And for me, it's like
Mm.
I'm not trying to be fun and games. Like I might splash in a little bit of humor here and there, but then I'm going to turn the corner and be deadly serious. Because for me, I want to be at the top of the industry. I don't want to be a guy who's just hanging out here. And for that, you've got to be serious about the whole thing. So for me, it's I'm looking for that WWE Championship, which is what we're headed to very soon. And in order to do that, you can't be a silly, goofy guy. And so I don't think I've done anything different other than just kind of kept my nose to the grindstone, keep moving forward, keep staying about my business, and that it is what it is.
You've been consistent. I think that's the key word in all of this is the consistency. With that being said, Master Mash had a question that I'm curious about. Your hand signs in the corner that you throw up every single time. What does that mean?
It means none of your damn business. Because I'm
Fair.
actually, I'm going to keep that one tight. Eventually, someday, I'll reveal what that is. But for now, it's for me to know and nobody to find out, unless somehow they're able to, pull out their little decoder ring and figure it out.
I remember Jeff Hornacek, Utah Jazz great from the '90s. He would wipe sweat off his forehead on the free throw line as like a symbol to his family, like "I love you." And
Yeah.
I just remember thinking that was one of the coolest things ever because it's like so subtle that nobody would pick up on. But he talked about it with Ahmad Rashad, and for some reason, at the age of 7, I remember that.
I'll just say it has links to my past.
Fair enough. Robert DeFelice, good guy, by the way. He works for Fightful. Big fan of his. You recently said in an interview that you are manically focused on making sure that everything hits the mark and everything is the way I want it to be. What is your mindset now going into the Crown Jewel main event against Roman Reigns with that quote in mind?
The mindset is just living up to everything that I have purported to be. The mindset is living up to everything that I have led the world to believe that I am, for good or for worse. So for me, it's going into Saudi Arabia, whether I come out with that title or not, taking a piece of Roman Reigns with me in the sense of people are going to remember this. It's going to change things. It's going to be clear that this revolution or movement or whatever you want to call it is not I think we're beyond the question of whether this is a flash in the pan or not. I think flash in the pan wouldn't have lasted this long at this point or gotten this hot. So for me, it's just kind of to go in there and do my thing and keep doing me. As vague as that might sound, that's the biggest truth I can give you.
Before I let you go, this is called the Superstar Crossover. My next guest will be someone from the wrestling industry, could be from any company. What question would you have for that next guest that we will continue to roll on?
I am the least curious person in that regard. How about what'd you eat for lunch yesterday?
There you go.
There
Simple
you
and
go.
easy. One more time, LA Knight. I will, by the way, say I am in my daughter's bedroom. I just had a baby girl about 3 weeks ago.
That where you take over your daughter's bedroom for your studio?
You know what? She has the best lighting in this house. So
What a
yes,
jerk! Now she can't even be in her bedroom.
no, she can't. She's 3 weeks old. I think she's on a nipple being fed,
Oh
and she's
God.
happy.
Okay. Well, she's enjoying herself anyway. She's getting a little meal.
There you go. One more time, LA Knight, Saudi Arabia, Crown Jewel on Peacock, Barclay Center, December 1st, New York City. You're back in Brooklyn. We appreciate you. Good luck with everything. One last question. What is one message you want to give to all your fans right now?
Well, the message is this: look for your new WWE champion here real soon. And no matter what happens, everybody knows whose game this is. You know it. LA Knight. Yeah.